Joining me now is the best-selling author of The War on the West and associated editor of The Spectator, Douglas Murray. Douglas, let's start in the US. You're a New Yorker these days, and in the New York Post, you write about living with the results of illegal immigration. Record numbers of immigrants are crossing that southern border illegally, and as you highlight, Democrat politicians in New York and indeed across all of America really have insisted for years that no human is illegal, bunch of other simplistic slogans. They made New York a sanctuary city, but they complain now when a small fraction of the more than 2 million coming in illegally a year under Biden are sent to New York. I've got to say, I have little sympathy, Douglas. New Yorkers voted for this. Yeah. It's not Texans endorsing open border policies after all.
No, that's right, Rita. I mean, the problem of illegal migration in the modern era is just a problem that every country has to face. There's obviously legal migration routes we all have, but illegal migration is something everybody has to deal with because, as I've often said, you either have borders or you don't. And if you don't have borders, you don't really have a country. And New York is just one of the cities that's had to learn this in recent years. A small number, a few thousand illegal migrants were sent up from Texas last year, and New York went into a panic about how to house these few thousand people, which constituted about 12 hours of illegal migration through the southern border. And now it's a few tens of thousands, and the city went into absolute meltdown about it, was putting up, I went myself to see the scenes, was putting up mainly young men in hotels, $500 a night hotels, which were, promptly becoming, pretty dangerous and lawless places. And the city couldn't afford just keeping on putting up every illegal migrant in a hotel and is now trying to bus them to different facilities. One group is trying to bus some of them to the Canadian border now. But this is what happens when your fantasy meets reality. Democrat politicians and other leftists across America, like in the rest of the world, all have these slogans, about open borders, about no human being illegal. But the reality is, if you allow people to break the law by breaking into your country illegally, there's just all of these problems that come from it. And you can put them off to another city sometimes, but you can't put it off forever.
And those southern states can't really put it off at any time. I mean, they might bus a few of them to New York to send a message, but they're dealing with the enormous influx. The numbers, astonishing, like more than 200,000 a month that they know of, that they encounter. And then there's the ones that they don't encounter. It's absolutely, and I love that line about fantasy meeting reality. That can sum up so much of leftist politics these days, a fantasy meeting reality.